What's up, everybody? Your old pal Billy Tucci here. We're my aviators in honor of the 80th anniversary of the beginning of one of the greatest battles in history, the Battle of Britain, which occurred on a sweet summer day over the English Channel. And in honor of that, we've got some great guests. Two of them hail from the UK. One of them has made his way down south, literally down to the southern United States, and then we have two Southerners. So this is a very cross the pond by way of down south type of stream. But the first person I'd like to bring in is our very special guest today, Miss Charlize London. We'll do that. And hello, Charlize.
Hello, how you doing?
I'm doing great. And how you doing? All right today?
Yeah. Not too bad. Working and just getting on with stuff.
Awesome. Well, we're going to bring you on today because what you're doing is that you took a very, very different approach to a pre-launch approach, which is wonderful, which I never did. I didn't even think of it. And I know people do it, but you've started to build a mailing list months before you even launch. So it's almost like you're having a built-in audience right when you're ready to launch. And it's so I want to get into that, how you were able to do that, what you use, social media, et cetera, et cetera. We'll talk about your upcoming Indiegogo project, Charlize London. But in the meantime, I'd like to bring in one of your partners in crime, the always affable and wonderful Miss Mandy Summers. Hello, Mandy.
Hi. What is up, y'all?
I just love the idea that we've got a Cockney princess here and a Southern belle. And how they're become sisters.
Yes.
By way of using the positive aspects of the internet. And of course, we got to bring in my boy, my MCR loving brother, another Southern brother from another mother, Mr. Brian Blevins. What's up, Blevins?
Oh, he's muted.
Not much, man. How's it going?
What's happening, bro?
Dude, not much. Just so excited to be on the stream today. What's up?
It's going to be
Mandy and Charlize and Paul Jenkins, but mainly Charlize and Mandy. What's up?
Speaking of Paul Jenkins, we have someone who's speaking of a campaign that's live now. We have our very great friend who from South London, by way of Wales, by way of New England, by way of Tundra Publishing and the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, all the way down to the hot Atlanta or outside of it. The man who's had more than one hole-in-one, believe it or not, a scratch golfer, your friend and mine, a hero to all, Mr. Paul Jenkins.
Hooray!
I got 5 holes in one. It's horrible.
Ooh.
Sorry, dude.
Son of a bitch.
That's nice.
I called the last 2 of them, if you remember.
Son of a gun. Yeah, he filmed them too. Man,
Right,
unbelievable. So I want to welcome everybody. Hello, Jade Spider-Man. Hello, Ismail. Keaton. Of course, Lee Ditsworth. Graham Nolan.
Dude.
Ooh. Hi, Graham.
But so I'm very thrilled about this. Again, Charlize, if you don't mind tell us a little bit about yourself and about your upcoming project, of which I'm doing a cover for, which I'm very excited about. And then we'll sort of circumvent around. We'll go to Paul, who's got his campaign live right now for Fairy Quest number 3. All the links are in the description. So if you guys wouldn't mind checking it out, if you guys can, I have 2 of my campaigns, She, Return of the Warrior, and of course, Miss Fury, Joy Division. Both of them are live. Miss Fury, we've just passed $86,000. We've got 28 days left. She, Return of the Warrior is in demand, and that book is going to the printer on Monday. So I am psyched. We're just waiting for a few color corrections, and it's going Monday. And everyone, because of all of your patience, everyone's getting a bonus trading card of Anna Ishikawa and her daughter Hotaru, and I'll pop that up later on. But
Nice.
Charlize, if you don't mind, tell us about your Indiegogo project that's coming up, when it's coming up. And I also did a link to your mailing list for people who want to go on. So,
Okay, thank you. So I'm doing a officially licensed comic about how the streets of London shaped the life of Charlie Chaplin. So it is, hey Wyatt. So it's going to start. The comic itself starts in the 1950s when he comes to London, and he discovers while he's here that he is not allowed back in America unless he goes in front of the Court of Un-American Activities for apparently being a communist, and he refuses to go in front of them, and instead he stays here for a little while and then goes to Switzerland, where he spends the rest of his life. And there's a particular night when he's here that he decides to walk around the streets of his childhood, and he wants to reminisce about where he came from. And that's when my story takes you back to the Victorian streets of South London and where he grew up, and how they, helped to shape the Tramp. And then it takes you through his magical films in Keystone, and how he sort of built his career. And then the book will end when him returning to London again in 1921, the most famous man in the world. It's a very different project than a lot of them out there, because it's a biographical graphic novel, and it is officially licensed. I went through the estate, I did everything properly, because I wanted it to look like him. These things, if you're going to do it the unofficial way, you have to have all these things, as you guys know, that don't quite look like them, or these different points of, and I didn't want any of that. I wanted it to be completely A1. So it's going, the mailing list is up now. The comic itself goes live on the 16th of October, which was picked because it was not only the date of the anniversary of him coming to London and finding out he couldn't go back to America, but the whole purpose of Charlie's London is it's this personal journey of like how my story and his story interlinks from growing up in the same area, and finding all these things out about how things that affected my family, things that affected his family. And weirdly, as well as it being that day, it's also my parents' wedding anniversary. So it just seemed to all work. So yeah, that's my project.
So how did this love affair, because for those of you out there who know me, I'm a huge Charlie Chaplin fan. I'll tell a secret about Billy Tucci. I don't know if you guys want to hear this, but I have, I love Steve McQueen, I love Errol Flynn, and I love Charlie Chaplin. And I might love Barbara Streisand, but that's my mother's fault for me listening to 8-track tapes driving.
That's another show. That's another show.
Whole another show.
Situation
I
there.
can sing every damn song that woman ever sang. Anyway, but how did this love affair for you begin with Charlie Chaplin? And then I want to get into about when Charlie does return to London, and some things that people might have some misconceptions about what had happened. But please tell us about how this love affair, I would have to say, because I could just, from talking to you, your passion about this amazing project and this amazing human being. If you please just give us a little insight on it.
So I watched the Robert Downey Jr. film when that came out. It came out in 1992, and I was 10, just starting secondary school, high school here, like high school for you guys. And I remember watching the film, and I watched it with my grandmother, and she was a very placid person. Like she didn't really lose her temper very often. And then there was a section in that film where he comes back to London, and he goes into a London pub, and they throw a pint of beer over him. And she got that wouldn't have happened. That's rubbish. That wouldn't have happened. Like really adamant about it. And it got me really, really interested. She wouldn't say anything more than that. So I decided, I went to the library the next day, and I took out 2 books. I took out David Robinson's Chaplin, His Life and Art, which the Robert Downey Jr. film, that would be good.
Yeah.
That would be very good. The script for the Robert Downey Jr. film was based on that book, David Robinson, His Life and Art, and
which I have right here.
I've got it right there. And also of Chaplin's own autobiography, that one. Yeah, so those 2 books there, which I've got.
This might be a first printing or something. No, not a first.
That one. No, that one's very early.
Yeah, it's a.
Is it Bodley Head written on the side?
It's got what?
Has it got Bodley Head written on the side, on the spine?
No, it's a Simon Schuster.
Oh, okay. Oh, that might be the American version, though, because those ones are done by Bodley Head. Anyway, that's me being nerdy. So I read these 2 books in the summer holidays, and I still couldn't work out why she was so adamant. Apart from there was something about he didn't refuse to fight in the First World War, that he actually he signed up, but they turned him away because he was apparently too short and he was underweight. He was 9.5, just under 9.5 stone, and he was about between 5'5" and 5'6". So it's very, very small man.
So Paul and I towered over him.
That's right.
Well, how tall were you, Billy?
Me?
Mm.
I'm like 6 feet.
Yeah, you would have towered over him. Yeah, you would have towered over him.
I'm 6 feet and I weigh about 14 stone.
Yeah, you would have towered over him. You could have been his bodyguard,
No, I'm
maybe.
not 6 feet tall. No, I'm like 5'7", 5'8", 5'8".
Oh, well, in
5'8".
that case, no. You
I'm
would have been.
5'9", mate. I'm 5'9",
Yeah,
so I've
yeah,
got
so I'm
tower over you.
yeah.
You still would have both been taller than him.
But I can beat Paul in a race.
Well, there you go.
In what race? In a race of what?
Oh dear.
The human race. Oh, that just happened. See, I don't know what that means. I don't know what any of that means. Sorry.
I'll take the challenge.
Like a rollerblading race. I bet you I could beat you on ice skates.
I guarantee that you could, because I've got one knee, mate.
We're sorry, Charlie's.
No, it's fine. I like listening. So I've sort of put it to one side. Like, every Christmas we watched one of the films my grandmother loved to have on. My mum, we'd have it on as well, was The Gold Rush at Christmas. So that was always around, and I didn't really think much else of it. But then as I got older, when my grandmother passed away, I decided to start doing, I was about 17, 18, I started to look at family history. And it was then I found out that why my grandmother was so adamant, because I had to get a photo from the Charlie Chaplin estate that was part of my family history. When I went on Ancestry, they said, this photo doesn't exist here, you have to contact these people. I was like, why? So it turns out that my in the Lambeth workhouse, of all places, when Chaplin's mum was sent to the Lambeth workhouse, and he was sent to a boys' school called Hanwell Boys' School, which is, I think Hanwell was sort of Croydon way for Paul.
How do we spell Hanwell? How do you spell that?
Hanwell. And there's a little Charlie Chaplin in the middle of the picture, right, sort of in the middle.
Yeah, I'm going to find that picture right now, and I'm going to share it, because that's great story.
Funny enough, you can see, like, if someone said to you which one he is, I don't know if it's just me, because I spent so much bloody time looking at pictures of him, but I think you can see that it's actually him. And then about 3 rows back to the left, it's my great-great-uncle. So they didn't grow up and know each other, like, it wasn't part of the family, nothing like that, but it just got me thinking that these stories existed in the streets of South London. Did people actually have this affinity and connection? Is his sort of character. There you go. So so if you go,
hang on, I'm going to move this over so I can see both. Give me 1 second. Sorry.
No problem.
I'm not Niall Scala. Okay, and then I'll expand it if I can. I don't know if I can expand. I really can't expand it.
That's all right. You can see it.
Oh, wait. Oh no. All right. So here's our young Chaplin, and you can definitely tell that's Charlie Chaplin for the people that like it. But in this same class image at Hanwell School for Boys, right? Is that what we would call it?
Mm-hmm.
Are we up here somewhere? Where is your uncle?
Top row, 4 in. So go to the right, to the left, and then the 4th little boy in.
There.
Where are you?
Right, 4th boy to the top left, right?
He's got he's got what looks like a little badge on, grey jacket.
Right there. So this, everyone can see. I don't know if I can zoom in, but you can't see my thing. But this, if anyone could see my cursor, I don't know if you. Oh, I can put it here. There you go.
That's him.
That is Charlie's. That's your grandfather.
Great-great-uncle.
Oh, your great-great-uncle. Look at that. Now, did he? And you look at this. For those of you that look, you can totally see. Look, just put a little mustache there. Look, see.
Mm-hmm.
But I just think that's an extraordinary story. I just love that story. So you have this personal connection now to Charlie Chaplin.
Yeah, I was really interested in was his sense of humour sort of very South London? Was it very London? Was it very sort of, that whole thing about turning the most god-awful situations into comedy and if you've ever walked around, I mean, Paul will back me up completely here. If you ever walk around the streets of Lambeth and Kennington, I've been asked, will you take me on tours around those places? And I always say the same thing. I'm not going anywhere near that place after 6 o'clock at night, because it's still to this day a very poor working class area, and sadly with that often comes very high crime rates, and it wouldn't have been any different when he was a child either. high unemployment and these things. And it's just a very rags to riches story. And it's also one that I think, whether you're interested in him or not, it's going to resonate with you that certain political things that are going on now, ways that he was politically persecuted for just being a decent human being.
Right. He said he wasn't a communist, and he outwardly said he wasn't. He was a humanist, he called himself.
I found, I'll have to send it to you on Twitter. I found a clip. Oh, actually, no. Yesterday I tagged you in it. So if you've seen it, there's a clip that I found on the Pathé website that when I was doing some bit more research, where when he comes back to London in '52, he went to somewhere called the Variety Club and he had a dinner, and people are saying to him, you're not going to like England when you go back. You've had all of these great experiences in America. You're going to feel like London's sort of a bit of a letdown. And he said, when I came back here, I had the opposite effect. And it was lovely because it links into what you're talking about today with the Battle of Britain. Because he says, when I left London in 1931, the rich were rich and the poor were very poor. Little children had blackened teeth and their cheeks were all gaunt. There wasn't socialized medicine, and there wasn't houses going up for the poor, tower blocks being built, this stuff. It was all just a travesty and a mess. And now I'm coming back in the 50s. People are looking healthy. This city that's been knocked about by war is now being rebuilt. And it was really emotional to watch it, actually, because I just watched it and I thought, how the hell could anybody think this man had any sinister meaning, that he wanted to bring down any form of political authority? All he wanted to do was make everybody have something a little bit better so that they could make everything a little bit better. Right. So, yeah, it was. So that's.
If you understand the history of that part of the world, well, just to honestly, Charlie's like my family are all from there, right? So I always think of it in terms of my great grandfather and my granddad and all the people that were there, because think of what the war did to everybody, right? The First World War, like it took families apart. My great grandfather died he got shot in Arras and bled out, right? And he left my great grandmother Flo and my grandfather, who never met his dad. Like when Bill Eldridge died, and it cast a stain on our family that took 100 years to recover from. But you're talking about in those days, like poorhouses, like the Lambeth poorhouse, and all these places where people would just have to go, to DOS basically, and kind of be in this place. People, you'd have like workhouses, you'd have people paying all of the money that they get for enough rent to be able to survive with food. So many people were orphaned by the war. You had all these people, and it was a terrible, difficult place, right? But it's South London, right? So it's sort of like there's a community side to it where people sort of know each other. Like you say, Charlie, you don't want to walk there after 6 o'clock at night.
No.
But that area is a place that like look at Brixton, right? Came out of Brixton, David Bowie. David Jones and David Bowie came out of that. It's sort of like when you got a poor environment like that, it breeds creativity. And honestly, I have a personal connection to that because I came from an incredibly poor environment, and all I've ever done is use it as the things that drive the things that I create. So you can see why it's a fertile ground for amazing people like Charlie Chaplin, but it's not the best place in the world, is it? I mean, it's kind of because of us, but it's not perfect.
Yeah, to this day, I live in a much better area now, and I'm quite privileged to live where I live, and I've worked hard to get here. But if I'm having a rubbish day, I will still get on a train and go to Kennington Park. I'll still go for pie and mash down the Walworth Road. I will do, and then of course no one else but you and me, Paul, knows what the hell I'm talking about.
Well, when Blevins, Mandy, and I go to London, can we all join you and Paul for that pie mash? Would you say pie and mash?
Pie and mash, yeah.
Yeah, we'll take you down the White Horse Road, right? I'll take you to a Crystal Palace game.
No, you won't. Yeah, not unless they're playing Arsenal.
Well, Paul was making a very, very good argument about Crystal Palace, saying this is America's team because
hold on.
They've got
Charlie's into this, right? So unfortunately, our eagle that we fly down before the beginning of the game. But what's the American bird? It's an eagle, right? So we had an eagle that we would fly to the middle of the field. She died, unfortunately, a few weeks ago. Kayla, our eagle.
Oh.
She died like a couple of weeks ago. But we have an eagle. We have cheerleaders. Our colours are red, white, and blue. We're America's team. So you can't be an Arsenal fan. You've got to be a Palace fan.
He's tempting me, Charlie.
No, because the Cronkies who own Walmart also own Arsenal. So if you don't get a stronger connection than that, that's two That's a financial giant, which I might say I hate the Kroenkes owning Arsenal, but that's just another thing. But no, I think the problem is with football, and you guys know this. When you put that shirt on, you don't change your team.
Yeah, no.
No, you don't.
It's like,
You never change it.
I'm not trying to recruit him. I'm just trying to point out that, like if you're a Palace fan, we need all the help we can get.
Well, Paul, if we had this conversation 10 years ago, I would have been, because I have a funny story. I have two really great friends that are Brits, and they're Londoners, and we were hanging out at the MegaCon. Actually, they would come to the MegaCon every year, and I'm like, all right, what's my football team going to be? What's my team? I want a team. And one of them was a Chelsea fan, and one of them was an Arsenal fan. So the one with the Arsenal, he's talking about the cannon and all, and the Chelsea fans talking about the lion, and I'm a Leo, so I'm like, oh, I like lions. I couldn't make up my mind, and this is maybe 15 years now. And then big fun, a lot of arguments between the two of them, how they hated each other. They're best friends, but they just despise each other when it comes to football. I guess as you do. And then I hear that the one guy says that Arsenal is the classiest football team, but then again he says that the Arsenal's got the Gooners, or the insane hooligans who just tear things apart and stuff like that. And well, needless to say, about 3 weeks after the MegaCon, what came in the box, what came in the mail, I guess you call it a kit, right? Is that right? If I say a kit?
Kit, yeah.
Yeah, was my very first. It was red and white Arsenal kit with my number 13 and my last name on it. And every other year he sends me a new one. So I'm bleeding North London. So
I've got a lot of time. I got a lot of time for Arsenal, mate. That's all right. I like that team. Not as much for Tottenham.
Well, I like Crystal Palace then too.
Yeah, no, like Arsenal and Palace fans, they don't care because
they're very actually weirdly they have this strange affinity. Like my fiance, his best friend is a Palace fan, and my dad's second team is Palace, and I'm like, I think it's purely because I know a lot of Turkish people moved from North London to South London. So somewhere down the line, they either adopted a South London football team or a North London football team. My dad always argues that by supporting Arsenal, we adopted both because they started in South London and went to North London. Yeah. But I like Snark to DM's comment where he said, me and Mandy will listen confusedly.
Sorry, we should
So yeah, that's
funny. Like Graham Nolan was mentioned about baseball, and here in the United States, like I'm a Yankee fan. In New York State, say with the Met, we have the New York Mets and the New York Yankees. I'm a Yankee fan because my Aunt Marie in 1973 took me to a baseball game at Shea Stadium, which is the Met Stadium, but the Yankees were playing, and the Yankees played at Shea Stadium that season because Yankee Stadium was being redone, being rebuilt. So my first baseball game was a Yankee game, and they won 4-3. I forget who they were playing, but Bobby Mercer hit a home run, and that was it for me. And they sucked, the Yankees, and the Mets went to the World Series that year. So that's how it is, ups and downs, and you become But the thing with Met fans hate Yankee fans, hate the Yankees. Yankee fans, we really don't care about the Mets. They're really not much of a threat to us. Now you talk about Boston with the Red Sox. That's a whole other story. That's a whole other story. But I digress.
That's fine.
Can I just say one thing before you guys continue? Because I've got to say it, right? So I see a comment from Wyatt in the thing, right?
Let me find it.
Can you put that one up? Soccer, the only sport with players more fragile than pro wrestling. A trip for 15 minutes. Wyatt, let me point something out to you, right? I grew up playing rugby because my Welsh side, and soccer, as you call it. In rugby, I got a tooth knocked out on the side, right? In soccer, I've broken my ribs probably about 6 times. I've broken my nose twice. I broke my neck playing football, as you know, Bill, and it knocked me out for 3 years. I put my knee outside my body. I've broken each ankle twice. I've broken my shin. I've broken just about every bone in my body. Soccer is probably one of the most difficult and dangerous sports. You've got 2 people running in on the ball and you smash into each other on the field. And so every time I see an American do that, I'm always like, would you get over yourself? Soccer is one of the hardest sports to play in the world. Sorry.
Yeah. It seems like a lot of the professionals, though. I mean, the embellishment is. Oh my God! I played hockey growing up, and I played soccer too. I played soccer from 2nd grade to 7th.
But American football players flop when they get caught, and like a wide receiver is like, oh, he pulled me, and then he flops, and then they get a penalty. Everyone does it in professional sports.
Not hockey.
doesn't mean to say, no, not in hockey actually, but it doesn't mean to say that they, that means that they're all like weak and fragile.
Well, I'm going to drop a name here. So I did the MCM show at the Docklands.
Oh my God! Yeah, that's not far from me.
Oh, all right. I joke about soccer. He jokes about soccer, so he's a good wife. And I was sitting there, and it was the European Rugby Championship game between England and France.
Oh yeah, that's a big one.
And it was pouring out. So we were all stuck in whatever the really nice hotel is there outside the convention center, a Hyatt or something. Really beautiful hotel, huge bar, and of course every TV screen had that on it. Every TV screen had the game on, and that was the night that I became friends with Billy Campbell, the Rocketeer, because Billy played rugby his whole life. He's from Chicago, from Illinois, and he still played with his friends at the time. This is going back, a decade or so. And, man, we became like two peas in a pod. And he told me all about rugby. And let me tell you, I find rugby a far superior sport than American football. And I love football. But, oh, my God, I wish that rugby had caught on past the collegiate level here in the United States like it has all over the world, because that is such a great sport. And what I also love about rugby is that the players aren't as armored up as American football players. And if you look, the more armored up the American football players get, the more injuries they get, because now there's nothing to hold these players back, from smashing into each other. The concussions are way huger. I mean, you look at the injury rate when they were wearing leather helmets, it was far lower than it is today, because they feel impervious. They feel, and it's caused even more. Rugby, you have to be, it's a far more finessing sport. It's brutal as shit. I love the scrum. I love to be right there next to Paul Jenkins. You could teach me, and I'll be your sidekick there, and we can go in, and you'll be like, get that ball, Tucci. And then
I was at the game. I think it was against Southampton about over 10 years ago now. The Eduardo injury. Do you remember that one?
Wow.
I was at that game. I wasn't close enough to see it, but I remember it being it was broadcast on Sky Sports, and the actual guy, what do you call it? The cameraman threw the camera to the floor. So if you see some footage, he's just throwing the camera onto the floor because the injury was so horrific.
Yeah.
Mass genocide is the most exhausting activity one can engage in next to soccer. So there's your buddy Matt Damon right there. Thank you so much for the super chat.
Matt Damon knows what's up.
Yeah, he does. Yeah.
Wyatt said he's a Tottenham fan.
Oh God. Colin Firth is an Arsenal fan, and he became an Arsenal fan after making the film Fever Pitch.
Yeah, which with the American far inferior film.
Yeah, the British one. The British one is whenever Arsenal lose. When I was growing up, whenever Arsenal lose, my dad would put that film on as a consolation prize.
No, I love it. Someday I will get to a match. I can't wait. And I've been invited to go. The problem is, Paul, is that these guys, they fly you over for these conventions in London, and then I'm like, yeah, Saturday I got to leave the show to go to an Arsenal match. And he was a Chelsea fan too. He's like, no, you're not. I'm like, it's like I paid for you. I'm like, you're right.
You got to time it where there's a Monday game.
Yeah,
we've got a Monday
game or a late game, Mm-hmm. So, but anyway, so Charlie, you and Mandy, I guess it seems like Charlie, you came out of nowhere. You just started to, and now you've got So I want to talk about and I'm going to let me add a link to your page, because I just love what you did. I love the idea that you were able to build this very well organized Indiegogo, pre-Indiegogo launch platform. Indiegogo, I'm sorry, I apologize, I'm not Niall Scala, and I'm on this friggin' PC.
Well, I will say that my pre-launch page only looks as good as it does because I have people like Peter Gilmore and Mandy and Wyatt and the CG UK guys and the Graded 0.5 guys to help me with this stuff, because they have, if you see the Super Dead mailing list page, like, it's very, very nicely done. The pictures on there are very nicely done. So I always ask them for advice. So it might look like I did it all miraculously on my own, but I always like to give people credit that have helped me along the way, and it's definitely that these guys are, and then they're so helpful as well. You can literally ask them anything and they'll go, yep, do it this way, or we've offered this as a perk to get people interested, and you know, even down to things like, can you check it over that I haven't made any spelling mistakes at what is 4 o'clock in the morning my time and 11 o'clock at night your time. Yeah, so little things like that. The two covers you can see there, the one that is on the left is by Vinny Tartamella, and Vinny is in the chat as well. So I want to give some props out to him. And the other one is by Donald DeLay. So
they're both amazing. You have incredible art. I'm going to play your video real quick, okay?
Yeah.
So hopefully I'll do well. Let me know if there's any audible, and I'll be able to, or maybe you guys can mute yourselves.
Apparently, with this new version of StreamYard, we all have to mute ourselves to stop interference.
All right, so I'm going to mute everybody, even me.
I think so. Yeah.
All right, we'll see. Well, what the hell? We got a few minutes, so if we got a. No sound. So was there sound, everybody? So I think hang on. Unmute yourselves, guys, unless I muted you.
Did you share audio when you shared your screen? Did you share audio too?
I did not. I'm new at this stuff. So.
Yeah, I do.
That's what it will be. It's not.
Dude, it's adorable. I want to play it. I'll play it. So I do share audio. How do I do that?
Okay, before you share, quit sharing your screen and then re-share your screen so it pops up the option and there's a little.
I see. Yeah. All right, I got it now. So if I go to share audio, okay, I got. Now, do I have to be muted, Mandy?
No.
Oh, okay. Because
you don't have to be, but it will. Any sounds you make will pick up, and I mute myself when I play videos. Just so.
Okay, so should I mute myself or no?
You can, but you don't have to.
Okay, good. I am going to mute myself. Everyone mute yourselves, please, and we're going to play Charlie's London. I'm sorry, everybody. It's a quick video. It's a great video, but thank you for teaching me, Mandy. All right, so.
Charlie Chaplin is an icon of movie history, but few know the story of the man behind the actor. Join us for this unique comic experience, officially licensed by the Chaplin estate. As we go back to the Victorian streets of South London and discover his difficult childhood that helped to shape his most famous character, the Little Tramp. This is Charlie's London, only on Indiegogo.
I love that so much.
Yeah, that's excellent.
Exceptional. I love it. I love it. So now you have your thing. Let's open this up. Now, now, if you don't mind telling, and Mandy, how much do we love Charlie's accent?
Oh my, right? No, I have told her from day one that I absolutely adore the way she talks. I love it so much. I want to take one of her history classes just so I can sit there and hear her talk.
Well, see, Paul, I'm not going to convince you, but my friend Rock is in the audience right now. He's Black Cat guy, and I can do a really good English accent. And he's married to an English woman. His wife is English. Actually, they celebrated last weekend. They didn't celebrate the 4th of July. They celebrated Traitors' Day because that's what they call it. And but I can do a really good English accent until I'm around someone from England.
Yep.
And then I sound like an idiot. But you'll never believe that because you're both English.
Well,
But Mandy, you'll believe it. I'll show you lessons.
Okay.
So basically, you're like that guy from Mystery Men that can only be invisible when nobody's looking at him.
Pretty much. All right, Charlie. So let's get to the gist, shall we? So you have you through social media, you built up a mailing list, and everyone who signs up for this free mailing list is going to get a free trading card.
Yeah.
Now, since you've launched this and your campaign launches in October?
Yes, 16th of October.
Okay, so when it does launch in October, how many people have you so far garnered for your mailing list?
Last count, which was about 2 hours ago, is 482.
See that, Paul? So what Charlie's is able to do is that this is her first campaign ever, right? This is a passion project by her, but just by using the positivity of social media and doing it the right way, she's garnered already almost 500 potential backers, a built-in backer audience.
I think you have 500 backers right there, because ultimately those people are not signing up unless they're backing it, right? So actually it seems to me like a great way of doing it, I admit, Charlie, that I'm the worst in the world at self-promotion. Like, I've done my job for years and I've done pretty well at it. But self-promotion and social media, I literally feel like a neophyte, and I look at people like you doing it, right? And I'm in awe. I'm in like, well done, because I suck at it, right? Now I still have to do it because I've got a campaign and I have to try to promote it. And I'm lucky, like you say, you have all the people that help you out. I have my company does it, and all the people that are helping me out and all that. But watching you do something smart, which is sign up for this. There's one other thing that I want to kind of bring up, which is something that I was talking with Brian Polito about the other day. You've got to be authentic, right? This is something that you love, and it's something that you know. And it doesn't take 2 minutes of looking at you and looking at that little film to know that you love this and it means something to you. And that's what people want. They want to gravitate to your love for this. They want that. It's not just the project. It's the person doing the project and how you did it. And I think you've done, like, watching it, I'm like, I should have done that. Except I'm an idiot and I wouldn't have.
But what's also cool, and what I love about crowdfunding, whether you want to be Kickstarter, whether you want to be Indiegogo, or both, like I did, like a nut, is that there is this personal connection with the fans. And now also through social media, and I love like how Charlie's and Mandy, you guys have your ladies' night where you guys just talk, and you talk about your projects and creativity and things like that. And it's huge. It's great. It's so fun. It's so entertaining. But to use the positivity of the internet like you guys are doing, or like we're doing now, and now creators are also not just connected with the fans one-on-one, we're also more connected with each other. I mean, look at us here. Brian's writing his book right now that he's going to launch in 2021. Paul's live right now. Mandy, you're live now. Charlie's, you're going. I'm live. And I love that. And maybe that's one of the good things that come out of COVID is that, it is such a small world, but now we're all interacting with each other. And yes, it's a business, but we can also share our friends' campaigns with our friends. Like, I'm going to post an update this week, probably today or tomorrow, to all our Kickstarter backers to check out Paul's campaign. and say, hey, and it's something that we could do is don't feel strange about reaching out to your fellow creators. Say, hey, would you mind posting in your next update a link to our campaign?
Mm-hmm.
You know, and even if people, and just ask your backers not to back it if you feel weird, but just share it if you don't mind sharing it with social media, or just check it out. And if you like it, share. Of course, we always would welcome you wanted to back it. Of course, we could always use the backers. Everyone could, but if you don't mind sharing it, share it.
Yeah, I also think that you can share it for two good reasons, right? One is that you believe in the creator, and one is you actually kind of like the work. I think if you don't believe in those two things, it's harder to share it. Right?
I was always brought up with the attitude of if you don't ask, you don't know. So, for example, I've got in the works a couple of big silent film festivals that I've approached that want to buy into the retailer tier so that they can have some copies at their festivals. I was really cheeky today because my book will cover part of the First World War, like it covers the First World War period of his story. I've even contacted the Imperial War Museum and I'm like, look, you're in Kennington, this is his story. Do you want any copies? I don't care. Like literally, I'll ask everybody because I just think to myself, we've got bookshops up the road. I've even been in there and gone, this is going to have an ISBN on it. Do you want some? Because why not? You know, at the end of the day, it's the purpose of this is to get it out there, and the initial project is crowdfunding, and you know, and all these people that I have spoken to that have replied and said, yeah, we really want this. I've got them. You know, you'll have to back it through the Indiegogo campaign because that's how I want it done, all through that channel. And then, you know, and the Chaplin estate have been fantastic with me. Like the contract that I've got has been bespoke, because it's so new. They've never done a crowd-funded comic before. There are two, I'll re-say that. They've never done a crowd-funded biography of him before. They have officially licensed 2 foreign comics, and there's another one as well, I think, which is a fictional one. But they, as this goes, and the way that it is, especially with the fact that there's going to be quite some high-profile people in the Chaplin community working on it as well as me, David Robinson's doing my introduction, for example.
That's great.
It's you know, just I'll reach out to everybody. I've got a Facebook page as well that's called Charlie's London. I've been advertising on there.
5,000 likes on your page.
Mm-hmm. And that's been going a lot longer than my Twitter has.
Wow. Jeez, 5,000 likes. That's crazy. I got our Crusade Comics page. We have 1,200 people who like it. Thanks a lot, everybody out there.
I want to say, when I saw that you were doing this mailing list, the very first thing I did was I shot a group text to Billy and Niall. I was like, man, why do we not have a mailing list? And there's so many different things that everybody can learn from everybody else. And I want to say, being on the show and having all these Kickstarters and Indiegogos and backing most of them, I never really noticed anybody utilize the program that comes with Indiegogo or the program that comes with Kickstarter. And after I backed, Fairy Quest yesterday, I got an update from Fairy Quest saying, hey, check out the show. I'm going to be doing a launch on Pop XP, and I had the link and everything sent to my email. And I'm like, man, of all the 20 plus books that I have backed, I never really saw anybody utilize it like that to draw attention to them being on whatever show, not just the show that Pop XP is. So I mean, I think it's so simplistic but brilliant, because you just don't see it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we're gonna get to Fairy Quest too. I'm gonna load that one up, so because it's an amazing book. Charlie's, I don't know if you saw it.
Yeah, but, I did. Yeah, I have. Do you want me to address the question on the screen?
Yes, please. Yeah,
okay.
That's what I kept. Thank you, Christina.
No, I'm not I can draw, but I am no way as good as this book dictates it needs. I've got someone that's working on this. His name, he goes by the name of Mickey Arts, and he's actually one of the covers it's not a cover, actually, it's going to be a print by someone called Carl Stefan, who made the comic Mary Boys. It's a friend of his. They worked together before they went into independent comics. I saw his style. His style was perfect. He's worked on sort of Second World War comics before, and it's just he had exactly what I was looking for. So I contacted him, and he was very he was really, really excited to do it. So I might be doing a print for my own campaign, but essentially I'm writing it, I'm editing it, and I'm sort of project managing it. So I feel like, to an extent, I've sort of got the easy job, really, even though everyone tells me no, you haven't. But because I'm working with 2 books, and I'm taking all the information out of them and putting this together in the way that I want to tell the story, but I'm not doing the art, and I always think the art is the hardest thing to do.
So you like to do drawings?
I do like to do drawings.
And you're cheeky.
Am I? I don't know. Maybe.
Are you like Simon?
That's
Cheeky monkey, bum looker. Can you say bum looker?
You're a bum looker. Go on,
bum
do it.
licker. What?
Bum looker, not bum
Are you
looker.
looking at me bum? Are you
Oh my God.
Oh my! Yeah, we got a Southern belle here. They don't talk like that down there.
Mandy and I had this conversation before. We're both technically Southern belles.
Yep.
Yeah, technically, just different Southern,
Mhm.
a different South.
We was also joking that here the North is meant to be like where all the hard nuts are, and the South's meant to be where all the like weaklings are. But in America, it's the other way around.
Pretty much.
Mhm.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah, there's a lot of betas up here in the Northeast. Guilty as charged. No. All right.
Guilty.
All right, guilty. All right. So we're gonna now let's move into, if you guys don't mind, let's move into Fairy Quest. This is gonna be great, Paul. I'm gonna do this, bad boy. I'm gonna do this. Hang on. Share audio. Thank you, Mandy. What? All right, and we got our buddy Paul Jenkins, who launched yesterday, and he's got over $12,000. Well done, buddy. In a little over 24 hours, right? You launched yesterday at 11 a.m.
11 a.m. So we're about about 26 hours, something like that. We got 11 grand, 12 grand. We're moving the needle. We have to keep pushing it every day, so people can see the book,
Well, we're gonna throw and let me play this for everybody out there. So, everybody, the link is in the description. Paul Jenkins has a Kickstarter right now. This is the 3rd installment of his amazing Fairy Quest series, and you're gonna love this. It's like a movie.
And the big bad wolf, and I am very, very hungry.
Hiya, Mr. Wolf.
So the big bad wolf says, I am the big bad wolf, and I am very, very hungry. Oh, hello. Claudius and I are reading his favorite book. This is Fairy Quest, and we are about to reprint Fairy Quest 1 and Fairy Quest 2 here on Kickstarter, where it all began. And we're also coming out with Fairy Quest 3, a brand new book. So we would love you guys to be part of our campaign. So we have planned a ton of extras and add-ons, lots of amazing swag that will add to every pledge as we're closing on our funding goals. We can't wait to bring you all kinds of exclusives and incentives that we'll announce if we're lucky enough to hit our stretch goals. And we have some special cover artists lined up. We have Ali Garza, we have Billy Tucci of Sergeant Rock fame, and we have Kevin Eastman, the co-creator of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. So I think this is going to be a lot of fun. Fairy Quest 3 is the next chapter in the Fairy Quest saga, which is set in Fablewood, a giant forest where all of the stories live together, but they're divided by genre borders. We originally published the work here in the early days of Kickstarter, and after a long hiatus, I'm really thrilled that we're going to be bringing our book back here. I know you're going to love the new 48-page chapter with a new main cover by Humberto Ramos. And this time we're welcoming the incredible Mike Bowden, as well as our fantabulous friend Leo Olia, who's going to be doing all of the colors and all of the design and lettering on the book. Since our first Kickstarter, Fairy Quest has been translated into a number of languages. It's been a cool statue. We've seen live action. We've had a bunch of cosplay people come up as our characters. And we've even developed a live action version of it that we performed at Pinewood Studios in Atlanta. All of this comes down to the fans at Kickstarter. We can't do any of this without your help. Fairy Quest exists because of you, and now we're finally able to bring our beautiful book back into print. I'm so grateful that I have the opportunity to finish it here where it all began. So thanks for watching our video, and thanks so much for helping us. This is going to be, okay, let me do that one again.
Okay. Take 10.
You're not having.
All right.
It's awesome.
Take 10.
I love that.
So I told you.
I know those videos get nerve wracking. Charlie, right? I mean, how many? Mandy and Charlie, when you guys shoot your videos, how many do you guys take multiple takes and then you curse and stuff like that? Because I do.
Oh yeah. I mean that there's a guy called Ascension Cinema, and he does a lot of like the Indiegogo trailers, and he did a fan Cyberfrog one, and then I said, oh, how amazing it was on one of our ladies streams, and he contacted me, and he was really interested in my book. And then he just came to me like two weeks ago and said, I've made you a very short 30-second trailer if you'd like to have a look. The only thing is I need some vocals. And of course, because Chaplin was English and because this is your book and everybody knows you and knows what you sound like, it should be you that does it. So I said, okay, 46 takes of for 30 seconds worth of audio later, wanted to throw my phone across the room. And he kept saying to me, they're fine. And I was like, no, I sound like a Cockney 5-year-old. It's not fine. So I know how nerve-wracking it is. Mandy always makes it sound so perfect. Like she's done our CG Ladies Night opener. She's done the audio on the closer, and she just makes everything sound so perfect. And yeah, that's my opinion anyway.
That's just because y'all can't see what I'm doing behind the scenes. How many times I mess up, delete something I didn't mean to. When I was doing the Wizard one, the trailer for that, oh my gosh, like the one where I'm stirring the bowl, that bowl was full of like blueberry muffin mix, and it was heavy ceramic. My arm felt like Jello. I must have had to re-record that thing like 50 times. And by the time it was done, literally I had Jello arms. Yeah, it was miserable trying to get that one scene. And then after I did it, I realized, well, look, the stove is like up to here where I didn't have the background cropped right. So I look like a little person in a big kitchen, and like the stove's as tall as I am. It was ridiculous, but it's fun. It's fun doing them, but ridiculous.
People don't see that, do they? Like they see the end products and think that you just nail everything, all that firstly, and then all of a sudden, yeah, a Cockney 5-year-old. That's funny. Yeah, I'm not even joking. I very rarely listen to streams back because I think I sound. If I turn my camera off, I think people think that they've got a child on a live stream.
I love the way you speak. I could listen to you all day.
Same, right? Seriously, your accent is amazing. Yeah. It's so good.
I just love these two accents.
Yeah,
on top of each other. Just
the two opposite ends of the spectrum.
I didn't even
Southern bells.
Hello, Debbie. I didn't even see you there because I'm watching these. I could. Unfortunately, there's a live. Yeah, there's timestamps across your faces.
There's a what across our face?
Timestamp. There's timestamp.
Oh, okay. Let me just shrink Paul's thing real quick, and then we could see all.
Hi guys. How is everybody?
Good. How are you?
Hanging in there.
I'm waving too, but you can't see it.
Yeah.
Oh, you're
so Paul
the
and Charlie, Debbie's. What is this? What is with these RAF aviator goggles I'm wearing? Can you fill her in, Paul, please? Paul's frozen.
Oh, no.
All right, Charlie's. Can you?
I just thought he was really happy.
It's The 80th anniversary of the Battle of Britain today.
I have not really been on Facebook much today, so that would explain why.
And
I
Debbie
did not
knows
know
how
that.
much what a
Because I'm
fanatic.
sure it's all over your page, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
Yes,
It's.
It is.
I mean, I literally cry. I bawled at Dunkirk every time I watched the damn thing. Paul is.
Oh,
There he is.
Hi.
Sorry about that.
So Paul.
I heard you talking about crying about Dunkirk, right? So you
Yeah.
and I do this all the time. Like we're grown-ass men, and then we'd start talking about like, you know, the Battle of Britain or Dunkirk or whatever, and then off we go. Like,
Off we go. I think I'm going to get a strike, but I got to play this. If I can share this real quick.
what are you gonna get a strike for?
Let me stop it. Hang on. Boop.
Oh, you're playing. The
I want to
movie.
play. I want just a scene from it,
I
and
need
just
to get a top loader.
they're all in there in the fulfillment center.
Yeah, where?
Right when you walk in to your left.
Okay, thank you.
Billy,
Guys, it was good.
Bye, Deb.
Billy, I think unlike before where we were trying to get you to play the audio, I think if you don't play the audio, you won't get struck.
That is correct.
Oh, okay. All
So
right.
just
let's do that.
put it on mute.
The music's amazing, but you got to see the music is really rising, and but it opens up and you have two young British soldiers who have just fled France. And what happened? It was I think it was the 24th of May, 1940. Was the British Army and the French Army was literally beaten back all the way to a little plot of land outside of the city of Dunkirk, and it was the port of Dunkirk. And the Germans were just basically, you know, they had overrun France. All the British ships that tried to get into the channel were sunk by the Luftwaffe. You had the RAF coming over to try to battle them, but they were so outnumbered. And so something happened during this period when the British Army, I think it was something like 340,000 British soldiers, or 320,000 British soldiers, and another 80,000 French soldiers were all stuck on this beach at Dunkirk and just being assaulted by the Luftwaffe with Stuka dive bombers and artillery and things like that. And the word got out, and Churchill put the word out. Oh, I'm going to get all emotional. That the people of England, the Britons, had to come and save their soldiers. So what these people did was all these people with fishing boats, with yachts, with pleasure boats, with their own personal craft, thousands of them left England and sailed across the English Channel in a war to literally bring their boats right into shore, right into the beach, right into the dock, and save their fellow soldiers. And like I said, they ended up rescuing 380,000 men. That would have been either killed or captured, and literally the English army lived to fight another day. So this is the end of this scene, and it was a great defeat, as Churchill said. Wars are not won by defeats. But so it's going to open up with these soldiers now who have gone through this battle, fought through France from September. Now it's May, and they're embarrassed. They feel what's the word I'm looking for, Paul? They feel they're heartbroken. They feel like failures, and they feel that they're going to be rejected by their British people. And then this is what happens. So
did you know where Churchill got the idea from?
No.
Got the idea from Elizabeth I and the Battle of the Armada, because during the Battle of the Armada, when the Armada fleet came over from Spain to try to defeat Elizabeth because she'd had Mary Queen of Scots executed, they knew that they couldn't outnumber these big Spanish fleets. So what they actually did was they got small little boats, fishing boats. They filled them with tar and set them on fire, and they put them in. They basically let them drift in amongst these big galleons, because the Armada used to sail like this. So they'd be the front. So then they couldn't maneuver out of the way in what was the space of the English Channel. So he was reading that, and he thought, well, I can do something similar. I can get small fishing boats to go over. They're quick, they're whippy, they're maneuverable, and they will not get stopped or caught up with either the submarines or the big German boats that were in the middle of the channel. Demoralised, yeah, that's probably the best word. So that's where apparently he got the idea from.
Well, I don't know if I'm going to get a strike if they'll take our Oh, okay, I love it. If they're going to take our channel down, can William help you? Okay, good. Oh, Debbie's taking Una to the surgeon now after her to the oncologist, see about setting up chemo regimens for our dog and all. But I think I'm going to play this. I just don't think we can monetize if I play this. I just don't think that
Hey,
they'll.
Billy,
Yeah.
before you play it,
Yeah.
can you share my screen for a second?
Yes, I'm sorry. Yep. There
I
we
want to
go.
show you something that'll bring it home to everybody. So I've got a story for everything, as you know. This is Grandad. And Grandad was the grandfather of a girlfriend of mine in Great Britain, and he fought in both wars. He was too young to fight in the first war, and he was too old to fight in the second war, but he fought in both of them. So he was at Dunkirk, and I interviewed him personally. I actually did an entire issue of Hellblazer, or 2 issues of Hellblazer, around his character. He walked for 2.5 days, and they told him that you got to keep your rifle dry. So he held his rifle above his head, and he walked in and out with the tide for 2.5 days, until the point where he was about to fall over. And he told me this personally. And just as he was about to fall over with exhaustion because the sand was pulling him down and he was just over it, somebody in a little boat fished him out of Dunkirk and brought him back home. So there he is, Grandad Strathern. Look at his face.
It's just extraordinary. And now the scene we're going to play, and you have Tom Hardy, one of my favorite actors today, is now he's a Spitfire pilot. Yeah, there are 3 Spitfire pilots. There's actually one of them is killed, and that one is the Vic leader. He was voiced by Michael Caine. That was Michael Caine. The second one is shot down, but he's saved by one of these small fishing boats. And the third, is played by Tom Hardy, ends up saving all the soldiers on a dock when a Stuka dive bomber is about to come down and just kill them all. And he runs out of fuel. And so this is I'm gonna share this screen right now. Give me a second. Again, thank you, Mandy.
You're welcome.
Chrome tab. All right. Let's see if it works. All right, here we go.
Siding! We'll put it in a minute.
What station?
Talking.
Run me one of them papers. One.
Oh, sorry. Let me share it. Dang it. Oh, stupid fucking PC.
Can't bear it. Infuriated. Can't bear it.
What the hell's going on?
In the streets.
Do you have it playing in another window too? Are you like double boxing it? Because I hear volume, but I'm not seeing like the play button.
Hang on. Can you see it now?
Yes, I can see it.
Frozen, right?
If it's supposed to be playing, it's not.
It's not. Hang on. Son of a gun.
It's got volume. I can hear it.
Oh, God. I don't know how you people use these machines. I really don't.
I don't know how you use a Mac.
I don't know how you guys use it. I'm gonna hang on. So I'm gonna stop sharing and reshare it. Apologies.
I will say though, since I upgraded my Mac, since I put the new operating system on, touch wood, I haven't had the same problems I used to have, Mandy, when we used to stream.
Really?
No. It was all because I was running on an old operating system, and apparently I updated to the newest one, and it's been working like a dream now, so it's fine.
Oh, awesome.
If I share it, see?
Okay, I see it.
You see the whole thing? You just see the little boy.
I see the little boy and somebody looking at him through a window.
Oh, Mona Mia, hang on.
I think, and I'm going to go on a limb here. I'm going to guess that Billy's actually playing it on a different computer, right?
That's right.
I'm an idiot, and it's because of I have it open in Firefox, and I gotta put it. For shame.
You got to do it in Chrome, mate.
I got it here now. I got it. Hang on. Now I got it. I'm going to move this bad boy over. Oh, what a moron I am.
I still don't believe he's a moron, even though he's calling himself a moron.
No. We'll just blame it. We'll let him blame it on the PC.
I will say something, though, that he's not probably going to agree with me for. I know the bit you're going to play, and I know the speech that that's going to happen.
Yep.
but I think that Darkest Hour does it better.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely.
Oh, okay,
I
fair
would have
enough.
done Churchill's voice.
I thought I was going to get in trouble then, but it's
No,
all
not
right.
at all. I would have been Churchill. I would have had the actual. I would have had the actual recording of Churchill. I wouldn't even have had an actor do it. I would have had that recording that he had made. So here we go. So now here you got these demoralized troops have gone through hell. They've been rescued by their fellow countrymen, and now they're on trains from the docks, and they just feel shame, and then they come home. So here it comes.
Hey! Where are we?
Siding! We'll be pulling in a minute.
What station?
Woking!
Grab me one of them papers. One.
Can't bear it.
Billy, mute yourself.
Infuriated. Can't bear it. We're spitting us in the streets. They're not locked up waiting for the invasion.
That's for that boy that was he was killed. The rest he's killed. Cole, is that the most beautiful thing man's ever made? Hang on, let me unmute you.
I can hardly talk about it, mate. I mean, you know how I feel.
I know.
I want to tell you my Spitfire story when we're done.
All right.
Wars are not won by evacuations.
Billy, you might want to mute yourself.
Look. There was a victory inside this deliverance which should be noted. Our thankfulness at the escape of our army must not blind us to the fact that what has happened in France and Belgium is a colossal military disaster. We must expect another blow to be struck almost immediately. We shall go on to the end. We shall fight in France. We shall fight on the seas and oceans. We shall fight with growing confidence and growing strength in the air. We shall defend our island whatever the cost may be.
What?
We shall defend our island whatever the cost may be. We shall fight on the beaches. We shall fight on the landing grounds. We shall fight in the fields and in the streets. We shall fight in the hills. We shall never surrender. And even if this island or a large part of it was subjugated and starving, and our empire beyond the seas, armed and guarded by the British fleet, would carry on the struggle until, in God's good time, the new world with all its power and might steps forth to the rescue and the liberation of the old.
Grammarly does more than catch errors. With Grammarly, you can find really good. No.
Oh my God.
works.
Shut up, fucking PC. Oh my god. Sorry. Oh my, I just bought. I'm like, oh, right. Holy cow. I mean, just, and here's Tom Hardy. The story of him as this Spitfire pilot that's overhead. He flies so much and fights so much that he exhausts all his fuel, saves those couple hundred last soldiers, and he lands, with under power on the most beautiful machine man has ever created, and he's left alone on there. He saves all these whatever, and that there's so many true stories like that, and just fantastic.
I used to live next door to a guy who was a Pathfinder pilot when I lived in, of all places, Charlie, Romford. Hated it. But I used to live next to a guy called Jim, and I talked with Jim one day about his service and the average life expectancy of a Pathfinder pilot. So Pathfinder pilots would go out there with in wooden planes, right, Wellingtons and stuff. The things made out of wood. It's kind of a plane that wouldn't really show up, as easily, but it had no defenses. And so if the Germans found it in the sky, they would shoot it down and the pilots would die. And their average life expectancy was 6 missions, and he flew over 60 missions.
Wow.
And so when you think about what these people did, who flew in the Battle of Britain, most of them went up twice. Most of the rookie pilots, the young pilots, went up once and got shot down and killed. And the Battle of Britain was so pivotal in changing the way that the world is right now. If not for the pilots in the Battle of Britain, this would be a completely different world. And I have the privilege of having grown up once I lived in Kent. I lived in the south, of England, just below London. And so 3 times a year, the planes would fly over because they would do the reenactment where I lived. And so to grow up underneath those planes was exceptional, right? To listen to the sound of the engines and to know that drone, and then it'd be a hot summer day in the south of England in Kent, which is the Garden of England, and you would see these planes fly over in formation. And because I grew up on a farm with a lot of kids that were gypsies, because I'd go to school with a bunch of very affluent like farmers kids, and then my brother and I would come home and be poor, right? And so we knew all the gypsy kids. And those buggers, they found 2 downed planes. And so as a little kid, I remember getting the word from a couple of the gypsy kids that they had found a plane. And me and my brother ran up through the forest, and we found, because, they hadn't found the plane yet, and someone had finally found the plane. And we were like, are we going to find someone in it? Neither of them had anyone in it, apparently. The first one, the one that we saw. But coming upon a wooded copse where a plane is halfway down some old trees, and now they found it, and it had never been discovered before, and seeing a couple of kids dotted around and working out, do we walk up to this plane or not? Right, that is a memory that you can't even explain. Like wondering, like, do we go up to this plane? I wonder if there's a dead person in it. There wasn't. But then all the kids started pulling bits out of the plane. On the radio, right? And they would just pull bits and pieces. But to see a plane down from the Battle of Britain to be found by a bunch of kids is a pretty magical moment,
Unbelievable. Just it's there'll never be a time like that again.
No.
Billy, do you want to share my screen?
Yeah. Am I going to get in super trouble playing that scene?
You might do.
I think I'm just going to end with the one. I'll just play with the one. I think if I push my luck even more, if that's okay, we should do definitely a Churchill show.
Yeah, no. I just I went for one that wasn't actually with a company that had like millions of views, so I didn't know whether they would have carried the burden. But it doesn't matter. We can look at it another time. But I went to see Darkest Hour. When I completed my teacher training, my mum, as a treat, she got me surprise tickets to see, I don't know if you have them in the States, but we have something over here called the Lunar Cinema. So they show films outside, but they show them at historical sites. So they've shown Jurassic Park at the Natural History Museum, for example. So you've got like the bones of the dinosaurs around, and then you've got this massive screen. Well, she got me surprise tickets to see Darkest Hour, but it was projected on the side of the Houses of Parliament.
Oh, nice.
So And I'm not even going to lie that when that end speech happens, and to think that it went on in the building behind, I did get very emotional because I was thinking, my God, that's something really, really amazing.
Damn, this is making me proud to be half English, man. All right, Mandy, with Super Dead, can you give us a little insight on that? Because I posted all the links before that I knew you were coming on, and I'm sorry.
No. So yeah, we are. It's a book that Peter Gilmore and I are working on. We are going to launch in a couple of weeks. I'm trying to finish up fulfillment on Work the Wizard before we go live with it. Though Pete has been knocking the art out of the park on this one.
Yeah,
it's so good, right? So yeah, no, it's basically it is. We originally started pitching it as a zombie book. When I got started writing it, it completely changed. So there are still zombies involved, but not really. So I kind of have my elevator pitch written down. I've been working on it because I suck at pitching my own stuff. So yeah, I guess I can practice on you guys and see how it sounds so far. So okay, so for 2 decades, the town that we are writing about is New Astoria. So for 2 decades, New Astoria was shielded from the violent disturbances of villainous superhumans by the chivalrous and indestructible protector, Captain Valor. So that is our hero, though he's not Captain Valor anymore. So yeah, he served the city with unconditional love and endless overwhelming pride, effortlessly able to break all barriers of reality, ripping through the skies at untouchable speeds with the hero's intuition of always seeming to be in the right place at the right time. His strength and fortitude were unmatched and his courage unchallengeable. As Captain Valor was destroying a soul stone that granted a villain the powers of darkness, corruption, and the ability to reconstruct the dead, his body inadvertently absorbed the energy from the soul stone, mutilating the hero into an all-powerful, uncontrollable, carnivorous anti-human. So basically, he sucks in the soul stone, which turns him into basically kind of zombie-like. So he's running around eating people. But he doesn't want to be, because he is he's actually a really, really good guy. He really just wants to do good. So he locks himself into the sewers so he can feed off, animals, rats, whatever he can find in the sewer that will, kind of quench his thirst, so he's not going up and attacking the humans that he loves and, did everything he could to protect. 10 years later is when the book actually takes place. Is 10 years after he locks himself away. He basically comes out and realizes he's been replaced by a new hero, Omega Atlas. And while he's been down there, he's been slowly losing his mind. So when he comes back, he's expecting there to be statues and in his name, and everybody just, oh, he saved us. And they just kind of forgot about him. So basically, you now have a very, very, very angry superhero with really dark powers and is very, very pissed off at the humans. And so, yeah, no, that's basically kind of like the elevator pitch of it. I got to work on it.
No, it's great.
Oh, thank you. But yeah, so it's different because there's 2 different heroes. You have Omega Atlas, who is the one that everybody just, revels. Oh, he's so amazing, but he's really an asshole. And then you have Captain Valor, who has a new name, but he's actually the good guy, but he's just really pissed off. So it's different. Like almost everything I write, it's kind of different. But no, I think people are going to love it. I think once people see it, they're going to really, really like what I've done with this. And Pete's art, like I said, is just phenomenal. So.
Outstanding.
I love it. And one thing many people don't know about Mandy is she's a massive history buff as well. Her and I geek out about history so much. So I've said to her, in the future, even though Peter's in the chat, he's gonna be now having a nervous breakdown. I've said to her that in the future, when everything is, evened out for both of us, and she's not got a busy schedule and I haven't, I'd love to write a historical graphic novel with her, probably set in like the court intrigue of Elizabeth I with all the spy masters and stuff. And I can see Peter now, he's like biting his fingers off, going, I'm not trying to do a comic.
Yes.
So,
yeah, a lot of people don't know this about me. I was in college before I had kids, I was a history major. I wanted to be a history teacher when I grew up, and then I grew up and had kids and quit school. So
well,
I love history.
You know, because Paul and I are both history buffs as well. So, Paul, we're gonna have to have maybe this date in history. We can do a show on that and something that really cool happened.
I love it, man. I think it's so exciting, right? When you talk about history. So another thing that you have no idea, like, because I do stupid stuff. I've been working on a game because I do game design and all that kind of stuff. And I've actually been working on a history game where we bring the real story of the person. So you find someone from history that you think you may have heard of, like, Alexander the Great. And when you actually look at what his life was and what they did and where he went and what the context, because it has to be contextual history, right? If you just say, this is what he did on this date, no one cares. But if you can explain, this is what these people were doing and this is how they lived, it's like talking about us, right? Like getting the story of some of these incredible people, like how they fought battles, what it was that they did, how they lived, talking about, any number of these people. I love it. And I'm actually, because I like telling stories, I love to tell it like a fireside chat where you go, let me tell you the story of this person. And you tell it and they're like, it seems like it's yesterday. And that's the way that we need to tell stories. Like let people understand that these people are alive. Just because they died 500 years ago or 2,000 years ago, it doesn't mean to say that they weren't just in their day, ordinary people doing what they did. Some of the stories that are apocryphal about someone like Alexander the Great are really interesting. But some of the stories of what actually happened with Alexander the Great are much more interesting. If you ever heard the story of him and he had this horse called Bucephalus.
Yeah.
And there's this giant horse that was introduced to, and the story goes apocryphally that he was brought in front of this horse and he said, I want that horse. And his dad's like, you can't have it. Philip, his dad's like, you can't have it. And the only person that can have this horse is the one who can tame it. But he noticed that this horse was spooked by its shadow. So he went around to its other ear and he whispered in its other ear. And the horse was like, fine with it. He wasn't scared of like the shadow moving. And then he was a really smart guy. And when you look at people like that, or Kudaloon, who was a niece of Genghis Khan, and she was like this famous warrior that would go in and pull people out of a battle and stuff like that. This stuff is amazing. And so history is incredible, but if you put it into context where people see it as just a story and they understand it, it's even more incredible,
Well, you saying about things coming to life, this is why I've just shared this with Billy. So basically I used to do a lot of First and Second World War reenacting, and I went to a 1940s party, and that on the left is me. And I came downstairs and my mum went, I can't look at you. And she wouldn't tell me why. She was just like, and I thought, does my costume look rubbish? Like, does she think I look really bad? And it turns out, no, because on the right there is her auntie, my nan's, I think it was her second cousin. It's either my nan's second cousin or my nan's sister. I never remember the story perfectly. But basically it's my aunt, what we call my Aunt Rose. And she was killed in the Blitz. And my mum and my nan had this picture with her, and then my mum got it. And my mum said I looked too much like Aunt Rose, and that's what was freaking her out. That's why she couldn't look at me. So that's why I've showed you them pictures side by side, because I look at them pictures side by side and it actually freaks me out. And when you said about like family history, like I can see it, and it actually is quite, it's haunting, really.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah.
So getting to that, we talk history, Paul. If I can espouse upon that story of Alexander the Great, the horse's name originally, and it's Bucephalus is a great name. It's probably my favorite name in the whole world, because I also love Alexander the Great. In Greek, though, it's Bucephalus, which means ox head, because he was a black stallion. And he had such a big head. And after Alexander was 12 years old at the time, when none of Philip's king of Macedonia, none of his cavalrymen, none of his trainers, of his horsemen could ride this horse, this young boy did what Paul said and rode him. And the horse took off, and he was little. Alexander wasn't a big guy, and he came back with this horse broke, and his father was the first one to meet him and said, "My son," he said, Macedonia is too small for you. He said, "Your kingdom will be the world."
Yeah.
And it's pretty amazing.
And he named a city after Bucephalus, right?
Yeah.
He named it because he loved the horse so much.
Yeah.
That he named a city after him.
And Bucephalus was turned from Latin to beautiful. But it was such a big horse. They said it looked like an ox. That this amazing black Arabian horse.
Oh, we're gonna have fun. We're gonna have fun with this history show.
Heck
mate.
yeah! Oh, I'm already starting to plan it, Paul. If you have any ideas.
Oh, I've got it because I can tell those stories all day, man. I want to tell the story of Kudalun. She's the most amazing human being, and in her day, so she was the niece of Genghis Khan, I think, and so the women were fighting the same way, right? But you see, because they weren't as physically strong sometimes with a sword, they were all on horseback, but would stand on their horses in a way that the men kind of couldn't. And they were so lithe and strong, and they would fire bows and arrows from their horses. She was so strong that, and I think she was the original mega feminist, because her parents were like, "You're going to get married," and she said, "No, I'm not. I'll tell you who I'll marry. I'll marry the guy that beats me in a wrestling match," and she never lost. And in the end, she never lost a wrestling match. She couldn't be defeated physically, and so in the end, she married the person that she kind of wanted to, and she was the woman who told him, "No, screw you. I'm not doing what you tell me." And in that environment, it's incredible to think that she did that. She also was known for riding into a battle, and it's not been possible for it, and picking someone off their horse and riding back with them from the battle, literally capturing people. So telling that story, people don't know who Kudalun is.
I don't know anything about her, so we should do a show called Woman Warriors.
Yeah,
and we pick Tomoe goes on. We take these women warriors throughout history.
Yeah,
and we could even tell the story of some of the SOE, the Special Operation Executive soldiers of the Second World War, how they parachuted behind enemy lines. Oh, that'd be fun, Paul. I did a Mademoiselle Marie story. And we should oh, that's great. Woman warriors. Let's do a show on that.
Oh, it's easy to do a story on women warriors because I'm really interesting ones. There are some people that that we sort of don't know very well, and then some that we're very familiar with. But if you take I can't remember her name right now, but the Queen of the Kush. So the Kush were sort of an African nation, and the Romans, when they were at the height of their powers, would just basically go everywhere and say, "You're going to pay taxes to us." And she was such a badass. I'll have to look up her name in a second. She was such a badass that she basically fought back against the Romans, and the Romans were like, "You're not doing that." They come in and they destroy the town, and she's like, "You're not going to do that to me." And so she went back out with her group and literally took the Romans out. And she was such a pain in the ass that in the end, the Romans agreed. Boudica, yeah.
Yeah, look at Peter Gilmore. All that talent and brains, too.
Boudica is an amazing person. So this queen was so brilliant that in the end, the Roman couldn't deal with her anymore. And so they basically made an agreement with him, leave us alone, stop being a pain in the ass, and you won't have to pay taxes. And she ended up burying the head of the statue, that your Roman statue is like the head of Augustus or someone. She buried it under her throne so people would have to walk over the head of the Roman to get to her.
Oh, that's great. This is great, man. What a badass. Yeah. Well, all right, guys. I want to thank, because we're coming on. I have friends coming over, and I got to clean the bathroom. They're coming to fulfill. We're going to be fulfilling all weekend. So I want to thank each and every one of you guys. If you guys could please sign up for Charlie's mailing list. Sign up for Mandy's mailing list for Super Dead. Please go to Kickstarter and please pledge to Paul Jenkins' amazing Fairy Quest #3. If you guys can't pledge, at least share it. And we're going to get Paul to put together a mailing list too. Because I want Paul to go to Indiegogo after his Kickstarter ends and bring Fairy Quest over there.
Yeah. Can I just add something about the mailing list, actually? So I was really, really concerned about launching my mailing list 3 months early, basically. But the reason I did it was because I talked so much on social media and live streams about this thing that I wanted to do. I was really, really worried about people losing interest. And because the artist that I really wanted couldn't start the project till September, I wanted to just keep strike while the iron's hot. Now, Mandy was a person that said to me, trailers, the mailing list now allow you to have trailers. Use the space wisely. So I've got the Ascension Cinema trailer, but if you scroll down the bottom of my mailing list, you'll see there's another link that you can put other videos. At the moment, it's a clip. It's like a 10-minute video that I did about 2 months ago about Chaplin's story in South London, Southeast London. But I'm going to change it every couple of weeks now to be updates about where the campaign is. So that if you do that as well, it means that your mailing list is like a constant piece of information for anybody that's signed up for it, or you can still direct people back there to watch the update, and it saves you having to send all the information out again.
Outstanding.
Awesome.
Crazy.
Evans, are you still there?
Yeah, man, I've been here the whole time. It's just you guys. I can't hang with all you history buffs, man.
Okay.
Like, I'm a nerd. I'm a nerd in the other direction, you know.
I hear you, bro. All right, guys. Well, listen. Thank you all, everyone. The descriptions, aside from Mandy's, and I'm so sorry, Mandy. I'm sorry.
You're fine.
I had a crazy morning. I would have popped it in, but it's in here in the chat. And you guys are wonderful. I hope everyone has a great weekend. I also want to let everyone know, all of our She Return of the Warrior backers, the blue line, the pure line edition, the rough cut editions, our black and white editions are all printed. I've got them. Our color, our hardcover, our graphic, our trade paperbacks, our special jeweled editions, all the full color books are going to the printer on Monday. And everyone for being so patient to us, everyone's getting a bonus trading card put together by the great Mike Renzini. Thank you, Renzini. And you guys are all wonderful. What a great show. Monty Black is saying here, look at this. Beautiful ladies, absolutely. Comic legends, I don't know about that. Oh, and look at that.
Brian. Like all these great people, and then me.
And the great Brian Blevins.
I doubt it.
I'm showing this because Carl Stefan, who wrote Mary Boys,
Wow.
is in the chat, and this is a pin-up that's going to be on my campaign. It is also going to be for sale on my campaign as well.
What, Charlie,
awesome.
If I may, I wouldn't make that a pinup. I would look into. Oh, sorry. The heck with me. Sorry. Get me out of here. Sorry. Duh. I ate myself. I would have. Who's missing?
We're missing Charlie.
There you go.
I would make that a cover. I know play changes get very expensive and all, but I think it'll be well worth your while. It's too good to be a pinup. I don't think pinups sell books. I think you should make that a cover. That's just my opinion as someone out there, because it's a dynamic illustration.
It does look pretty amazing.
It does.
Billy, you didn't really show your cover for.
Yeah, and I've been working on my cover for This Is the Rough. I'm going to finish it over the weekend. We'll get it colored next week, Paul. And this is my little. Let's go to me now. I'm going to go big. I'm going big or go. This is the Rough.
Wow! I love that.
That's right. She's kind of right. She's sort of a saucy gal, isn't she?
She is.
That is so sick. It is so sick.
And we'll put some really cool stuff in the background here. This is just trying to get her down. I was working on her last night on the screen, so I'll do that. We'll get that colored up, and this both the rough and the original art will be offered for the campaign. And
that's amazing. That's so
good.
good.
Number 3, Paul, you're now over. If I look at it, you're over $12,000 for sure, which is great. Just a little over 24 hours, you're over $12,000 already. $12,128 US.
Good.
So let's get some sound as a pounds in there, shall we? And some
Well, one last thing I'm going to say about mine for anyone that's watching still is that we're going to announce a bunch of new things all the time. Like we just said that Jill Thompson's going to be doing a cover, and I'm really excited about that. But I've got a secret special person that I'll announce in a few days' time, and that's amazing too. And we're going to try to do like early stretch goals. So in fact, when we get halfway, we're going to announce a couple of things that we're going to give to everybody and keep moving it that way as well. So I'm hopeful that we can get some of our stretch goals in early, and it generates additional stuff. But releasing the individual covers as we go, I think will help as well, so people can get like a little bit of fun on seeing Kevin Eastman's cover or your cover as we go. Can't wait, man. I think you're doing. I mean, it looks amazing so far, so I can't wait to debut it. That would be incredible.
Well, you guys, I love you all. This was a great show. I love being on here with old friends and new friends like you, Charlie, and Mandy. Well, you're not. You're kind of a new friend.
I'm middle ground.
Yeah,
I've been
pals.
around.
We've been pals for a while now.
Yeah.
And Blevin's my brother, and Paul, I love you. You guys are great. We're gonna head out. I'm gonna go clean. And like I said, remember the Battle of Britain. Remember those heroes who took to the skies and saved the world. So thank you all. I'm gonna close out with our little trailer and tally ho.
Nice.
Thanks, guys.
Awesome.
Bye bye.